Most gym injuries over 40 aren't accidents. They're habits disguised as normal exercises. You think you're doing everything right, training hard, staying disciplined, even following that influencer who swears pain equals progress. But here's the brutal truth no one talks about. Some of the most common exercises, the ones you see every single day, are slowly pushing your knees and spine toward the operating table. And no, that's not an exaggeration. It doesn't happen overnight. First, it's a little pop in the knee, a slight pinch in the lower back. Nothing major. Until one day you can't squat without grinding sounds in your joints, or you wake up feeling like your spine is locked in a vice. But here's the thing. It's not your fault. It's the culture. This no pain, no gain mindset might have worked in your 20s, but after 40, the game changes. Your body doesn't bounce back like it used to. What used to feel like mild discomfort now turns into chronic inflammation. That light soreness becomes real pain. And that same workout you've been doing for years? It's now the very thing stealing your mobility. And before anyone says, you just need to stretch more, let me stop you right there. This isn't about warm-ups. It's about biomechanics. Some exercises, especially after 40, become hidden traps. Not because they're evil, but because your body has changed and you haven't updated your training to match it. That's exactly why you need to stay locked in until the end of this video. I'm about to walk you through the 8 most dangerous exercises for your knees and spine after 40. And what to do instead. Safe swaps, smarter moves, so you can keep training hard without wrecking your joints or living in pain. And stick around for the last one on the list, because it's the exercise almost everyone still does, thinking it's harmless, when it's actually one of the top causes of disc degeneration. Plus, I've got a bonus at the end that could completely change how you approach your workouts from now on. If this is already hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next might just change the way you train forever. Exercise 1. The hidden shoulder killer. Dumbbell flies. There's something graceful about dumbbell flies, right? That wide arc, the slow, controlled motion. It looks like perfect form, controlled, precise. But what if I told you that this so-called elegant movement might be the very thing ruining your shoulders, especially after 40? Here's the real problem. When you lower those dumbbells out wide, you're placing your shoulder joint in one of its most vulnerable positions. You're opening up the glenohumeral joint. That's where your upper arm meets your shoulder blade, and asking it to hold weight at the worst angle possible. And if your elbows are even slightly too straight, that tension goes straight into your ligaments, rotator cuff, and the soft tissues that are already less resilient than they used to be. And nobody talks about this. Nobody tells you that the more a muscle is stretched under load, the higher the injury risk. That's exactly what dumbbell flies do. They stretch your chest in its weakest position while putting your shoulders under maximum tension, especially after 40, when connective tissue starts losing elasticity. That's a perfect storm for injury. To make it worse, many lifters unconsciously arch their lower back to stabilize the weight. That subtle arch might not seem like much, but over time, it's a spinal stressor, compressing your lumbar vertebrae with every rep. Add that up over months and years, and you're one wrong move away from a back spasm or worse. Now here's the smart move. Switch to cable crossovers or machine pec deck. Both offer a controlled path, reduce the extreme joint angles, and keep tension on the chest without forcing your shoulders into dangerous territory. You'll still get the burn. You'll still grow. But you won't pay for it with torn ligaments or chronic inflammation. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. The next move? It's a classic. and it's quietly trashing your lower back. Exercise 2. The backbreaker in disguise. Traditional deadlifts. Let's be honest, the traditional deadlift is a beast. It builds power, size, grit. It's the kind of lift that makes you feel like a savage in the gym. But here's the deal. After 40, that same beast can become your worst enemy. Not because the deadlift is bad, but because your body might no longer be built to handle it the same way. What makes the deadlift dangerous isn't just the weight. It's the position. Think about it. You're bending over, gripping a heavy barbell, and trying to lift it while keeping a neutral spine. That sounds good in theory, but in practice, it takes elite-level mobility in your hips, hamstrings, and ankles. And if you've lost even 10% of that mobility over the years, which is almost guaranteed, your lower back starts doing the work your legs were supposed to handle. And that's where the problems begin. You round your spine just a bit. You shift the weight forward slightly. You ignore that little tug in your lumbar because it's just part of the grind. But every tiny breakdown in form is like rolling dice with your discs. After 40, those discs are already more dehydrated, less shock absorbent, and slower to recover. One bad pull is all it takes. Then there's the ego factor. Deadlifts are loaded with it. You want to lift heavy. You want to hear the plates rattle. So you push past warning signs. You throw on more weight. You focus on numbers instead of form. And suddenly, you're not just training. You're gambling with your spine. But there's a better way. The sumo deadlift is a game changer. By widening your stance and keeping your torso more upright, you shift the stress from your lower back to your legs. You engage your quads, adductors, and glutes, all while reducing the shear forces on your spine. It's not easier, it's smarter. And smarter keeps you in the game longer. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying ditch deadlifts. I'm saying evolve with your body. Respect its changes. And adjust your training so you can keep pulling weight without pulling your back out of alignment. Because at this stage, it's not just about lifting heavy. It's about lifting forever. And the next exercise? It looks safe. It feels safe. But it's fooling you and setting you up for a fall. Exercise 3. The illusion of safety. Smith machine squats. At first glance, the Smith machine feels like a gift from the gym gods. Locked-in bar path. Built-in safety stops. No spotter needed. For a lot of people, especially after 40, it looks like the perfect way to keep squatting without the risk. But here's the cold, hard truth. That fake sense of safety? It's exactly what makes it so dangerous. See, your body doesn't move in straight lines. Every joint, every limb, every muscle fiber, they're all designed to work together in a fluid, individual pattern. The Smith machine forces your body to follow a rigid, vertical track that rarely matches your natural mechanics. The result? Compensations. And compensations are where injuries begin. To stay balanced in a Smith squat, most people push their feet forward, way in front of their hips. That instantly shifts the load onto your knees and forces your lower back into a hyperextended position. For someone over 40, that posture is a disaster waiting to happen. Discs get compressed, knees take the brunt, and stabilizing muscles? They're barely activated. And here's the kicker. Because the bar is fixed, your core doesn't have to work as hard to stabilize. That might sound like a good thing until you go back to a free weight movement and your stabilizers aren't ready. That's when you bend wrong, twist unexpectedly, and boom, you're in pain, wondering how it happened when you were playing it safe. You want a real alternative? Try goblet squats with a dumbbell or kettlebell. Holding the weight in front of you forces your spine into a more upright position, protects your lower back, and actually engages your core throughout the entire movement. It's scalable, joint-friendly, and brutally effective when done right. Bottom line, the Smith machine isn't evil. But it's not the protective bubble people think it is. Especially as your body changes with age, it's crucial to train with freedom of movement, not in a locked track that forces your joints to behave like robots. And the next exercise? It's one you've probably done thousands of times, and it's quietly trashing your neck and spine with every rep. Exercise 4, the neck cranker. Traditional sit-ups. You've probably done these 1,000 times. Lay down, knees bent, hands behind the head. Crunch up. Simple, right? But here's what no one tells you. That harmless little movement? It's wrecking your spine, especially after 40. And you don't even realize it until it's too late. Every time you curl your torso forward, you're compressing the discs in your lower back. And not evenly. That motion forces your vertebrae into flexion, pushing the discs backward, right into the space where your spinal nerves live. That's a recipe for herniated discs, sciatic pain, and chronic stiffness. And after 40, when spinal discs lose hydration and resilience, that risk skyrockets. It gets worse when you add poor form into the mix. Most people yank on their neck when they get tired. You've seen it. Elbows flaring, chin tucked, hands pulling like a rope. That motion puts your cervical spine in direct tension. The vertebrae in your neck get crunched and strained with every rep. You don't feel it right away, but over time, that turns into nerve impingement, headaches, or radiating pain down the shoulders and arms. And let's not forget this. Traditional sit-ups mostly target the superficial ab muscles, the ones you see in the mirror. But they barely touch the deep core muscles that actually protect your spine. So, not only are you risking injury, you're not even training your core effectively in the first place. The smart move? Switch to plank variations. Isometric holds engage your entire core, including the transverse abdominis, obliques, and yes, even your lower back, without spinal flexion. You'll build real stability, improve posture, and avoid the micro-trauma that comes from high-rep crunching. Let's be real. Abs aren't worth a spine injury, especially not when better, safer, and more effective options exist. Your body deserves more than old-school routines that were never designed with longevity in mind. But that brings us to another classic lift. It's macho. It's loud. And it's slowly grinding your shoulders into dust. Exercise 5. The shoulder wrecker. Behind the neck overhead press. This one has old school written all over it. You see someone grab a barbell, slide it behind their head, and press it toward the ceiling like it's 1985. Looks hardcore, looks powerful. But if you're over 40 and still doing behind the neck presses, you're playing a dangerous game with your shoulders and your neck. Let's break it down. When you press from behind your head, your shoulders are forced into extreme external rotation. That position is already tough on young, mobile joints, but for aging shoulders, it's brutal. You're pushing your humerus, your upper arm bone, into a place it was never designed to hold weight. Tendons get stretched. Ligaments are over-torqued. And the rotator cuff? It's taking all the punishment. And here's the part no one talks about. To get the bar behind your head, you have to stick your neck forward. That motion compresses the cervical vertebrae, creating strain on the nerves, spinal discs, and the muscles that run up the back of your neck. It's why so many people wake up with headaches, neck tightness, or tingling down their arms, and never connect it back to this lift. After 40, the risk multiplies. Your connective tissues don't recover like they used to. Your shoulder joint might already be stiff from years of benching, pushing, or poor posture. So when you force it into a mechanically compromised position and load it with weight, you're not building strength, you're begging for a setback. Now here's the move that keeps you strong and safe. Switch to overhead dumbbell presses in front of the body. This lets your shoulders move naturally, your wrists adjust their angle, and your neck stay in a neutral position. You still build delts, you still build pressing power, but without turning your joints into a war zone. Look, I get the appeal. There's a certain pride in doing the hardcore stuff. But the real flex after 40? It's lifting smart. Lifting long. Staying pain-free while everyone else is limping out of the gym with a heating pad in their bag. And the next move? It looks intense. It feels tough. But it's crushing your wrists, elbows, and shoulders all in one motion. Exercise 6. The Joint Destroyer. Diamond push-ups. Diamond push-ups look badass. Hands close together, elbows tight, triceps on fire. It's one of those movements that screams discipline and control. But here's the truth. This intense-looking exercise is an orthopedic nightmare in disguise, especially for anyone over 40. Let's start with the wrists. When you bring your hands together in a diamond shape, you're forcing your wrists into extreme extension. That alone puts a ton of stress on the small bones, tendons, and ligaments inside the joint. Now, layer on your full body weight. Then add reps. That's how you get tendinitis, wrist impingement, or worse, nerve compression. And that's just the beginning. This position also sends serious pressure into your elbows. The tighter your arms stay to your body, the more the joint has to absorb. Over time, that tension targets the tendons around your elbow, especially the medial and lateral epicondyls, which are already more fragile past 40. One bad flare-up and you're sidelined with tennis elbow or bursitis, unable to press or even hold a coffee mug without pain. Then there's the shoulder. That close grip forces internal rotation. Combine that with high reps or fatigue, and you're grinding your rotator cuff tendons against bone. The result? Chronic shoulder pain, impingement, or even partial tears. And those are no joke once you're not in your 20s anymore. And don't even get me started on the nerves. The hand position compresses the carpal tunnel area, where the median nerve passes through. You might feel numbness in your fingers, tingling, or burning in your forearms. And again, you won't trace it back to diamond push-ups until it's too late. Want a better option? Go with triceps rope push-downs on the cable machine. You get full elbow extension, controlled load, and natural wrist rotation. Zero compression, full control. And you can adjust the intensity without sacrificing your joints. That's how you build real strength without trading it for pain. Training hard isn't the flex. Training smart is. Diamond push-ups might look cool, but orthopedic surgeons love how often they send clients their way. And the next exercise? It's a legend, a rite of passage. But it's also a spinal landmine, especially after 40. Exercise 7. The spinal trap. Barbell back squats. There's no doubt, barbell back squats are a legendary lift. They've built more legs, glutes, and egos than probably any other movement in the gym. But here's a truth most lifters don't want to admit. After 40, this king of lifts might be quietly wearing down your spine, one rep at a time. It starts with the setup. You place a loaded barbell directly across your traps or rear delts, brace your core, and drop into a squat. Sounds solid in theory, but as we age, spinal discs lose fluid, joints become less forgiving, and our ability to stabilize under load decreases. So that compression from the bar? It's no longer just part of the lift. It's a high-risk stressor on an aging structure. Most lifters don't have the same hip or ankle mobility they did in their 20s. So instead of squatting deep with proper alignment, they start compensating. Knees cave in, pelvis tucks under, or worse, the lumbar spine rounds under the weight. That's how chronic low back pain starts. Not with one bad rep, but hundreds of almost good ones. And here's the worst part. To handle the load, many people overarch their lower back at the top and bottom of the movement. That excessive lumbar extension isn't better form. It's a trap. It jams your vertebrae together and creates long-term disc issues that don't show up until it's too late. So, what's the solution? Ditch the ego. Try front-loaded squats with a dumbbell or kettlebell held in a goblet position. That setup encourages better posture, reduces spinal compression, and shifts the emphasis toward your quads and core, where you want it. You'll still get strong legs. You'll still feel the burn, but your back will thank you 10 years from now. Back squats aren't evil, but they're not mandatory either. After 40, it's not about what looks strong. It's about what keeps you strong, without putting your spine on the chopping block. And now, the final villain on the list. It's subtle, quiet, deceptively safe, but it's the one that sends more knees and backs to surgery than any other. Exercise 8. The silent killer. Leg press machine. It looks harmless. You sit down, feet on the platform, back pressed against the pad, and just push. No balance required, no bar on your back, no fear of falling. The leg press machine is supposed to be safe. But for lifters over 40, it's quietly become one of the most dangerous pieces of equipment in the gym. Here's why. The position itself is a setup for disaster. As you lower the sled toward your chest, your knees fold tightly, often past 90 degrees, while your lower back starts to peel off the seat. That subtle movement? It's a silent scream from your lumbar spine. It means your pelvis is tilting, your spinal alignment is breaking down, and your discs are being crushed under load. And when you add too much weight, which most people do, the pressure skyrockets. Especially at the bottom of the rep. When your knees are closest to your chest, the joint compression is brutal. The patellofemoral joint, where your kneecap meets your thigh bone, takes a pounding. Over time, this leads to cartilage wear, tendon strain, and eventually chronic knee pain or full-blown injury. But it gets worse. A lot of lifters lock out their knees at the top of the movement. That might feel like completing the rep, but what you're really doing is transferring the full load onto your ligaments. After 40, when connective tissues are less elastic and slower to recover, this is how people rupture a meniscus, or worse. And let's talk about the back again. Every time your lower spine lifts off the pad, you're creating shearing forces on your vertebral discs. Multiply that by weeks, months, years of heavy reps, and you've got the perfect storm for a herniated disc, the kind that doesn't just hurt, but sidelines you for months. The smarter move? Replace the traditional leg press with hack squats. Your spine stays supported. Your foot position is more natural. And the angle reduces pressure on both the knees and the lower back. You'll still work your legs hard, but without walking a tightrope over injury. Bottom line? The leg press isn't the safe haven it pretends to be. Not when you're past 40 and every joint decision matters. Strength isn't just what you lift. It's how long you can keep lifting without breaking down. And we're not done just yet. Because now comes the real enemy. The habit that keeps sending people back into injury, even after they've fixed their form. Bonus: the one habit that keeps sending you back to injury. It's not a specific lift. It's not a machine. It's not even a technique. It's a mindset. A silent belief that says, if I just push through, it'll go away. This is the real killer. The habit of ignoring your body's signals. That little ache in your knee? It's just soreness. That pinch in your back? Nothing serious. You stretch a little, maybe pop an anti-inflammatory, and jump right back into the same routine. Sound familiar? But here's what's really happening. You're stacking dysfunction on top of dysfunction. That minor pain is your body begging for change. And when you don't listen, it escalates. What could have been fixed with a few smart modifications turns into a full-blown injury. Weeks off, months of rehab, maybe even surgery. And why? Because we confuse discipline with stubbornness. You're not being tough by grinding through the same program your 20-year-old self used. You're being blind to the fact that your body has evolved, and your training needs to evolve with it. Strength without awareness is just ego in disguise. Let me say it again. The workout that got you here isn't the one that's going to take you forward. Not if forward means longevity, mobility, and pain-free performance. After 40, the best lifters aren't the ones pushing the heaviest weight. They're the ones still training consistently, injury-free year after year. Adaptation isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the difference between the guy who flames out by 50 and the one who's still squatting in his 60s. The one who refuses to listen? He becomes a regular at the physical therapist's office? The one who learns and adapts? He keeps training, keeps moving, keeps living on his terms. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Pain is not a test of willpower. It's information. And when you start treating it that way, your entire training journey changes. Because now, you're not just lifting weight, you're lifting with purpose. Let's face it, most people won't make it this far. They'll click away. They'll tell themselves, "I'm fine." They'll keep training the same way, ignoring the warnings, until their body forces them to stop. But not you. If you're still here, it means something hit different. You're not just training for today's pump. You're training for the long haul, for the version of you who still wants to move strong, feel sharp, and live free 10, 20, 30 years from now. You've seen what the wrong moves can do. You've felt the warning signs creeping in. And now you know. It's not about giving up intensity. It's about redirecting it towards smarter lifts, better choices, deeper awareness. This is how you stay in the game. Because the truth is brutal. It's not your age that breaks you down. It's clinging to a training style that doesn't fit your season of life. You're not 20 anymore. That's not a weakness. That's your advantage. You've got experience. You've got feedback. And now, you've got a strategy. So let me ask you this. What's the one thing you're changing in your training after this? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear what clicked for you. If this video gave you at least one aha moment, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let's keep building this together. We've got way more coming. Smarter training, better results, no injuries. That's the mission.